Come, friends and foolish mortals, as we discuss the most tentative of TBRs that we have had to date. Hey folks, my name is Jen. We have some new spooky decor happening on here currently. I've got Mr. Poe chilling here. We have some new things. It's all good. It is still not quite October yet. It is September, but trying to get into that mood. I have quite a sizable stack of books right next to me. I am not getting to all of these. This is not a thing that is happening this month. We are not doing all of them. But I am indeed going to attempt to make my way through at least some of them in October. We shall see. First up in this stack, we have a couple of books that I am going to be slowly-ish trying to make my way through this month. One is my current lunchtime read, which is The Secret of Chimneys by Agatha Christie. This is a mystery that follows a man named Anthony Cade, and he's been in quite a few adventures over the years. Currently, he is in the middle of having the most boring job ever as a tour guide for a bunch of old English ladies, and he's just not having a fun time. He's over in Africa right now being a tour guide, and he ends up bumping into one of his old friends, and his old friend has recently been entrusted with hand delivering a set of memoirs by someone who was high up in a particular government, Slovakia. I'm not sure, it's a made-up place. I'm not 100% sure which country Agatha Christie was trying to portray here. It's somewhere in the Balkans, I guess, is basically the general idea. So it's somewhere over there. And the former, count or prime minister or something has recently died. And these memoirs are potentially salacious. So his friend asks him, hey, I need a favor. Can you hand deliver these to London because I got some other shit going on? And Anthony decides, sure. Ends up taking them to London and finding himself embroiled in a major political upheaval and international intrigue. He has just had his life threatened twice so far. I imagine more are upcoming. So that is, this is the current read that I am bringing to work to read on my lunch break. So it's usually the book that I carry around in my bag all the time for that purpose, or if I'm waiting in line somewhere or something like that. Yeah. And then I also, just a couple of days ago, started reading and annotating A is for Arsenic, The Poisons of Agatha Christie by Catherine Harkup, and this is a book that basically goes into depth about Agatha Christie's experiences with various medicines and poisons, because she ended up working in a dispensary during World War I. And then during World War II, she ended up volunteering her time at dispensaries again, because she already kind of knew in general how best to do that and help the war effort. And she learned a lot about medicines and poisons and toxicity and things like that. So this kind of talks about her experience with that, and also goes into depth about the poisons, how they work, how they were applied in murderous fashion, and how Agatha Christie used them in her works. Each chapter is devoted to a particular poison and also a particular book in which Christie utilized that poison as like a murder method. So yeah, I'm not too far in the book right now. I'm still on the first chapter, which is A is for Arsenic. I'm enjoying it. Firstly because Agatha Christie fascinates me and I really like her mysteries, but also because this is helping me as like research for one of my writing projects. So that's why I have been annotating it, basically. So yeah, I will be slowly making my way through this in October, and maybe also into November and December. It depends on how long it takes me to get through here. This book is also on my 23 and 2023 list. And then I also have 3 more books that are in my 23 and 2023 list as well. I do think I will be changing slightly what I do with that though, because I have been basically stressing myself out about the fact that I gave this reading challenge for myself and then I didn't complete it. I don't know. Originally I was thinking, well, this is just a fun thing I'll make myself do, and then like a month or so ago I was like, maybe I should give myself consequences, like I have to donate the books at the end or something. And then I was thinking more about it over the past couple of days because I realized that I'm almost done with Bleak House, which is on my 23 and 2023 list, but because I have been so distracted by other books that I just feel like reading more, and also by how long it's been taking me to get through Bleak House, I haven't gotten to the other books that were on my list for September, basically at all. Rather than overly stress myself out, especially since October too, but October, November, and December are just extremely busy times for me in general, that I already have enough stress. So instead of giving myself consequences at all, I don't know. I'm still gonna try to see what I can get through, and I'll just say, instead of like I have to donate the book or something like that, I'm just gonna say that whatever I don't finish by the end of the year, that then needs to be priority reads for like January, February, March of next year, and pretty much leave it at that, because I've already, I may or may not devote myself to another type of reading challenge for next year. I haven't entirely made up my mind. The long and short of that is, the books that are on my 23 and 2023 list. I have 3 of them that I allotted for October, and I'm not going to put supreme pressure on myself for trying to get to them, but I would like to at least complete one of these hopefully by the end of October. The first of which, and this one is actually probably the most likely one, it is Sadie by Courtney Summers. This is a book that I have been wanting to read for a very, very long time. I know I've talked about this before. This has probably come up in videos. It's probably come up in Instagram posts. It's a book that I keep wanting to pick up and I just don't do it. So I really need to set aside the time to read this. This is following as like a dual perspective book. So first and foremost, we have Sadie, who is a young woman, and we are introduced to her, I believe, first through a podcast. This podcaster, he does like true crime and mystery kind of like situations, and he is investigating a terrible situation that happened nearby. A young girl was unfortunately murdered by, I think he is a serial killer. and her older sister, Sadie, ends up going missing soon afterwards. And so he's trying to figure out what happened. Was she a victim too? Has she set out to revenge her sister? What exactly is happening? And then the other perspective we get is Sadie, but it is Sadie, I believe, at the time. So it's like jumping back and forth between time and stuff like that. I have been wanting to read this for a very long time because this feels like this is something that it follows a couple of my interests already, but I know I've also been kind of putting it off because I'm sure this is going to be quite a difficult read at some points. But I do really want to get to this, so this is high up on the priority list for October. Another book that I want to get to, which this one I don't think I'm going to get to. I'm hopeful, but I don't think it's going to happen. That is Ink Death by Cornelia Funke. This has been on my list for a very long time. I have owned this for years. I've never managed to complete it. I have read Inkheart and Inkspell several times at this point and have never really gotten around to completing Ink Death. So I really need to do that. But I do need to finish my reread of Inkspell because I completely forgot what happened at the end of that book to help get me up to date for this book. So I do need to finish reading Inkspell first and then getting into this. But because these are kind of chunky, I just don't know how that's going to work, if that's going to work, if this is going to be one of those books that I come back to at the beginning of next year. I'm not sure. Book from the reading challenge that I hope, but now no longer know what's going to happen. I really want to pick up Cultish, which is The Language of Fanaticism by Amanda Montell. This is a nonfiction book, and it goes heavily into depth, Jesus, about cults. So basically, this is talking about how our culture and everything kind of makes it easier, I guess, for us to jump down rabbit holes of like different cults and like various belief systems, conspiracy theories, different stuff like that just makes it easier for things, because it talks about cults, but it also goes into depth about organizations and groups that aren't technically cults, but kind of are cult-ish. They lean towards that because they are fanatical. I first heard about this in a video that I can never remember her name and I feel bad about it all the time, but her channel is Books Like Whoa, and I first heard about it on there because she did like an in-depth review about this book, I want to say like 2 years ago maybe, and I was really fascinated, as cults are something that I have like a morbid fascination with them, but they're honestly, that's episodes of podcasts that I usually skip, just because a lot of the times I find myself very frustrated because there have been no repercussions for cult leaders and people who have ruined lives and entire families and everything, and that really bothers me when people don't have repercussions for their shitty ass actions. I really want to read this. I can see where this is going to probably frustrate the ever-living shit out of me, but it's also very fascinating, and it's a topic that I'd like to understand more about. So yeah, I'm hoping to pick this up hopefully this month. This year has not been the year for nonfiction for me, really, but yeah, we'll see. I might get to this. This might be another one that goes into next year. Then we get into specifically spooky season books. So these are books that I am just, this is the aesthetic that I am looking for. This month, it's what I'm hoping to like get to. The first of which is, of course, my annual reread of The Shining by Stephen King. This is the first time I will be reading it since I did my like big annotation of it last year. If you don't know what The Shining is about because you live under a rock or you haven't been around here when I'm yapping about it 5 million times, this is following the Torrance family, Jack, Wendy, and Danny. Jack is a screw-up, and he is also a recovering alcoholic, and he gets a chance job. It's like his last-ditch effort to get a handle on his shit, basically, to be the caretaker of the lovely and creepy Overlook hotel in Colorado. And in doing so, he drags his much put upon wife Wendy and their 5-year-old son Danny with him, and they end up becoming snowbound in the hotel, where, let's just say, there are some very unsettling things that are up there, and Jack also has some demons of his own he has to kind of try to work out. And the hotel itself is also kind of interested in young Danny, who is a bit... he has some special talents. Another reread that I'm hoping to maybe get to this month also is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This is another book which has an unsettling locale, but also the people who inhabit it have their own demons that they are kind of facing and dealing with. So this follows a interesting group of quirky characters as they stay at Hill House, which is reportedly haunted, and the purpose of staying there is investigating whether or not it is in fact haunted and has like paranormal activity, and kind of taking a look at everything. And shit gets crazier as you go along. It's kind of I would say maybe like a slow burn horror, I guess, but the thing about this book is that it is unsettling from basically the first page. It's not so much that it is horrifying. If you want to be terrified beyond belief, I would suggest you watch the Netflix show that came out a couple of years ago. To be completely honest, I did not finish watching the show. I stopped with about, I would say, two episodes or maybe 3 episodes left because I could not do it anymore. I was just talking about this with my friend today. I don't know what it is about that show, but the horror of it touched something within me very deeply, and I cannot do it. It is the first thing I've ever watched that I think has affected me this much, even years later. There are certain parts of it that I don't like to spend too much time thinking about, because then I am gonna have a hard time doing anything anywhere with lights off ever. If you want to be scared out of your skull, watch the show, because it's a lot. If you haven't seen it already, it's a lot. But if you don't really want that, you're not really up for that, I would go for the original. It is a hauntingly beautiful but very deeply unsettling read. The hauntingly beautiful in the fact of what specific words Shirley Jackson chose to describe things, the descriptions, the way she worded things in here is very... the way she did it was very beautiful, but it is also very unsettling. Like I said, it's not one you read for super big horror, but you will not feel comfortable the entire time you are reading it. It leaves you feeling like you have to sit on the edge of your seat the entire time, because an unsettling feeling just pervades every bit of this book the whole way through. I haven't read a physical copy before. I've listened to the audiobook, which I would also suggest. It is here on YouTube unless somebody took it down. Editing Jen put a link to it. I enjoyed the audiobook, but I would like to actually read the hard copy of it this time around if I manage to pick it up and potentially annotate it. I don't know. I haven't really made up my mind yet. Then for slightly lighter reads, well, one of them, well, I guess so these are both middle grade, are for children, and they're both lighthearted, but also kind of grim and unsettling in their own ways as well. The first of these lighter fare reads is The Witches by Roald Dahl. I have not read this since, I don't know, I was probably like 10 maybe. I'm happy to get back to it. This is following, I can't remember what the little boy's name is, and now that I think about it, I don't even know if his name's ever said in this book. This is following a little boy who ends up going to I think a seaside resort with his grandmama whose health is failing. They are the only things in this world. The only ones they have in this world are each other, as his parents have passed. So him and his grandmama, that's what he calls her the whole time. She has warned him before that real witches roam the earth, and one of them is responsible for some injury that grandmama has. I can't quite, again, it's been years since I've read this, and probably not as long since I've seen the movie, not the new one. I've never seen the new one, but the old one from the 80s or 90s, I want to say. They're at this resort and suddenly find themselves overrun with very strange ladies who appear to be maybe a convention of evil witches. Witches in here they're not like real ones. They're not like fun, happy ones. They're not like ridiculous ones like in an Eva Ibbotson or a Terry Pratchett. They are destroying evil, nasty people. So I remember this book, and consequently also the movie, spooking the shit out of me when I was a little kid. But yeah, anyway, haven't read this in a long time, and the movie is on my list of spooky movies that I want to revisit this fall, so I'm hoping to hopefully pick this up and then also rewatch the movie. I don't know if I'll watch the new one. Yeah, but let me know if you think I should give that a try. I've heard mixed things. The other book that is a reread that I hopefully maybe want to get to is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This is one of my absolute favorite books, and I really have been wanting to give this a reread anyway, and I figured, hey, October, pretty damn good time to pick this up. This one, I think, is a little more melancholic than a Roald Dahl, but is still very sweet and beautiful and also kind of grim. And I remember this book making me bawl my damn eyes out. It's following a young boy named Bod, or Nobody Owens. Bod has been raised in a graveyard. When he was a baby, a stranger came into his home and slaughtered his whole family, and he fortunately was able to escape, and he slipped into a graveyard. And the beings that live in the graveyard placed him under their protection and were able to keep him from this terrible person who was also after him. So Bod has been basically learning and living his entire life in the graveyard, and things start changing when he starts longing to make friends and do normal things, like go to school and talk with living people and do that kind of thing. And meanwhile, the monster who killed his biological family is still out there. I absolutely loved this book, so I'm very much looking forward to picking this up again, even though I know this is going to break me into tiny little bits and pieces and then put me back together again. These are 4 unread books that I'm hoping to, I don't know, maybe at least get to some of them, or at least crack a couple of them open this month and finish them later. Well, first of these is Bite Me by Christopher Moore. And I don't know that much about this book, so I'm just gonna read the synopsis to you. The city of San Francisco is being stalked by a huge shaved vampire cat named Chet, and only I, Abby Normal, emergency backup mistress of the Greater Bay Area Night, and my manga-haired love monkey Foo Dog stand between the ravenous monster and a bloody massacre of the general public. Whoa. And this is a love story? Yup, except there's no whining. See, while some lovers were born to run, Jody and Tommy were born to bite. Well, reborn, that is, now that they're vampires. Good thing theirs is an undying love, since their goth girl Friday, Abby Normal, imprisoned them in a bronze statue. Abby wants to be a blood-sucking fiend too, but right now she's really busy with other stuff, like breaking in a pair of red vinyl thigh-high Skankenstein platform boots and wrangling her PhD candidate boyfriend Steve, the love monkey. And then there's that vampire cat Chet, who's getting bigger and smarter and thirstier by the minute. Abby thought she and Steve could handle the kitty cat on their own. May not. I think it's French for but no. Before you can say, OMG, WTF, Tommy and Jody are sprung from captivity and join forces with Abby, Steve, the Frozen Turkey Bowling Safeway crew, the Emperor of San Francisco, and his trusty dogs Lazarus and Bummer, Abby's gay goth friend Jared, and San Francisco's finest Cavuto and Rivera to hunt Big Cat and save the city. And that's when the fun really begins. I've never read a Christopher Moore before. I have heard, I think, mostly good things about him. I don't 100% know what to expect, really. I have another one of his books on my shelves that I haven't picked up yet. I'm hoping to get to that next year. But this sounds like it has maybe like a Douglas Adams, Terry Pratchett sense of humor. Got like a satire kind of thing. Is basically the idea that I'm getting from this, and kind of the idea I've had from what other people have said about this, about his writing. So I'm hoping that this will be kind of a nice lighter thing to slip in between some of the more like spooky or upsetting things that I might read this month. So yeah. And then one that I may or may not get to, but again, the aesthetic for this month is perfect. Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. Classic tale. So you have the beautiful Christine Daae, who's a very promising up-and-coming opera singer. Then you have Eric, or the Phantom of the Opera Garnier in Paris. And it doesn't say if he is her musical teacher in here. I'm assuming that was a detail that remains true from the movie. I've only ever seen the movie. Rather, I read part of it when I was younger, but then I saw a picture of the Phantom and it gave me nightmares, and I never actually finished reading the book. So I can't quite remember exactly what's up with Eric and Christine, other than he's obviously obsessed with her. And then, you know, enter her childhood friend Raoul, who is also very interested in her, and shit hits the fan for everyone. So, yeah, classic tale of obsession and creepy shit happening in a Parisian opera house. So then I've got The Dark Days Club by Alison Goodman, and I am just going to read the synopsis in here too for you because I don't know how to explain it. So it's London, 1812. 18-year-old Lady Helen Rexall is on the eve of her debut presentation at the Royal Court of George III. Her life should revolve around gowns, dancing, and securing a suitable marriage. 1812. So that's still Mad King George, right? Yeah, I think so. Instead, when one of her family's maids disappears, she is drawn into the shadows of Regency London. There she meets Lord Carlston, one of the few chosen to stop the perpetrators, a cabal of demons that has infiltrated all levels of society. Carlston is not a man she should be anywhere near, especially with the taint of scandal that surrounds him, yet he offers her help, and the possibility of finally discovering the truth about the mysterious deaths of her parents. Soon the two of them are investigating a terrifying conspiracy that threatens to plunge the newly enlightened world back into darkness. But can Helen trust a man whose own life is built on lies, and does she have the strength to face the dangers of this hidden world and learn the truth about her family's legacy? Like, super Regency era societal intrigue shit happening, but also dark and creepy things. I don't know. It almost kind of, to me, sounds a little bit like, the Shadowhunters, but Regency London version, or something like that, which that was already done, wasn't it, technically? I don't know, I've only read one of the books, and I can't remember anything about it, basically, but I don't know what to expect from this exactly, except that back in the day when this was floating around a lot, I marked it as on, like, my wish list, and I just ended up picking it up when I saw it at the secondhand store, so I really don't know what to expect from this. I'm hoping that it will be a good read, but I don't really know, because me and YA fantasy have a weird relationship, so I don't know, but I have high hopes because it's also like a Regency stuff going on, and I really enjoy that. So, and then the last thing that I may or may not get to, but we'll see. It's here for the vibe. I I recently got this. Actually, I was bad, and in my travels of getting things for the library and getting like Halloween things, I also got a couple of Stephen King books. And this is one that I would like to maybe open in October, but this again might be more of a November, December thing. We'll see. That is Fairy Tale by Stephen King, and this is following, what is his name? Charlie? Yeah, Charlie Reed. He's a good student. He has been having a very rough time, basically. His mom was killed in a hit and run when he was younger, and has basically driven his dad to drink. So he's basically been like taking care of himself and his dad for a long time. And when he is 17, he ends up meeting a dog and the dog's owner, who he becomes kind of close to, and starts like doing jobs for the owner. And the owner, Mr. Bowditch, has this weird shed on his property, and there's all kinds of unsettling noises that come out of the shed all the time. But Charlie doesn't think too much of it because he's got other, he's helping out and doing stuff. He's got a lot of stuff going on his plate. And after Mr. Bowditch dies, he ends up leaving Charlie this, like, what is it, cassette tape telling a story that is like almost impossible to believe, but it basically involves the shed where the weird noises come out of. The reason there's weird noises coming out of the shed on his property is because within it is a portal to another world. So these are basically everything that I may or may not get to in October. But yeah, like I said, I don't know what I don't know what I'm gonna get to and I'm gonna feel like I'm in the mood for. TBRs have been kind of difficult for me this year, just in actually reading what I set out to read, which maybe I need to revisit that in the coming year of how TBRs work for me, because I'm kind of a mood reader, but then I do also like having structure and having things that I want to get to, which is why I try to focus books on certain aesthetics for certain times of year, or things that I really want to get to, or trying to set goals for myself. Like I was saying, I wanted a classic every month, and I wanted a Nightmare of Shame book every month, and now a nonfiction book every month. So stuff I want to try to do, but I don't know. This year's kind of been showing me that maybe I'm shifting and I can't do that anymore. I don't know. I'll have to ruminate on that, and we'll see how that works next year with everything. But thanks for watching, you guys. I have a couple of spooky-ish or spooky adjacent videos that I kind of want to come out with in October that I'm hoping I can like finish preparing for, and that'll be fun fun to do, and also fun for you guys. Hopefully one of them's something that I wanted to do last year, but then I got COVID and I just was like, no, this is not happening. But yeah, I'm hoping to get to those, hopefully, because I think they'll be cool. But yeah, anyway, I hope that you are enjoying the intro to spooky season, and let me know if you've read any of these books, your thoughts, no spoilers please, and if you have a vote on something that I need to make a priority this month out of my stack. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for always watching. If you are new here and would like to consider subscribing, please indeed do so if you would. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.